What do you want?
Do you remember that idea you had? With the 3 stations?
Yeah?
The first recordings you did were in November 2024.
It wasn't that long ago.
And Niederrickenbach station was also exactly a year ago.
Yep, a documentary of mine which has the intent of being serious starts with me making fun of the current state of my mind. Guess my shitposting hasn't ended yet. Before anyone worries, I'm trying to take care of myself and I will be alright. Don't worry. Back to the important topics. I actually got the motivation to make this video because of my stay in Germany, as I recently went on holidays for the first time alone. I can make a separate video on that. Anyways, what are we talking about? We are talking about the Zentralbahn, which in English roughly translates to the Central Railways. It's a narrow gauge railway company that operates in the central part of Switzerland, between the major city of Lucerne and the 2 very popular tourist destinations, Engelberg and Interlaken. There has been a lot going on lately as they are planning massive expansion. For one, they have ordered even more trains, meaning that there are 17 new trains which will be delivered in the coming years. 7 Adler and 10 Fink, which is massive. There have also been big renovations. In Stadtstadt they are building a new office for the headquarters, and several sections will be renovated, including the section that I mentioned in my last documentary, which will realise a double-track section in Staldifeld. When I saw this a few months ago, I actually jumped around from excitement. No joke. Anyways, let's get to the main part of this video, which are the 3 stations on the Engelberg line that have been put out of service. Important to know is that I'm not including the 2 stations, Grünwald and Obermatt, on the now decommissioned old approach to Engelberg. I believe that is something completely different, and unlike what we will discuss now, it's way more well known. The 3 stations we are looking at were the stops of Dörfli, south of Wolfenschiessen, Büren, slightly north of Dallenwil and east of Büren, and alas, Oberdorf. Dörfli was deactivated in 2014, Büren and Oberdorf in 2002, back when it was still the LSE. As you will see with Büren and Oberdorf, there is a good reason why I named this video the way it is. Especially the Americans watching this will probably have a stroke from what we had up until the 21st century. Let's start with the one that not only is the most recent to be ignored by trains, but also is still the most well seen today, Dörfli. Dörfli is located in Wolfenschiessen, just south of the town itself, located around 1.3 kilometers away from it. This is what the station looks like from the other side of the Engelberger A. These recordings here are from 2024. At a certain point we will jump to present day 2026. Arriving at the station, it's hard to imagine that it was once used as a station. As it was still serviced so recently, there are clips of it on YouTube, like this amazing video. The platform that once existed has been fully removed, leaving only this tiny little shed which has been repurposed since then. I like this. Train recycling. This hasn't changed since I first went there. I went back here in 2026 and it was still used for this. Talking about the platform, this right here shows it even better. What you are seeing is the driver's cabin's view back from 2015. The platform still exists. In contrast, my personal recording coming from the other direction back in early February. Subtle, but noticeable. Dörfli itself has a beautiful medieval tower, and many buildings do show off their old age, as they were spared from the French, unlike the northern part of the canton. All in all, I can see why they removed service. With the larger trains catching on with the completion of the Engelberg tunnel, and with the relatively small size of this tiny village, if you can even call that, it probably doesn't make much sense. It's crazy that service existed up until 2014. That's also why, on the old maps, Dörfli is still included. All in all, you can still very much make out that this station existed. which is not the case with the next two candidates. In fact, to all three stations I couldn't really find any information at all. The only info I could hold on is that these stations existed, as well as one life-saving cabin view video. Anyways, the next station was Büren. Do you all remember how in the last video I said it might seem silly to some people that Niederrickenbach station was like not even a kilometer away from Dalnbiel station? Trust me, it gets more absurd than that. Even though you can't tell it in the present day, the station used to be right here. For what, you may ask? The little village you see over there. Yep, that is quite the distance. In older videos you can clearly see the area that was the stop. However, by 2015 it had already been removed to a large degree. Then, a few years ago, a new roundabout was built, improving the flow here. In short, the station used to be round about here. Do you notice something? If we use GeoAdmin again, we can see that this station was not even 600 meters away from Dalnbiel station. Yep, on this short patch you had 3 goddamn stations. Insane, right? I have a friend who asked why someone would even consider having Niederrickenbach station on the network, but this might fully blow their mind apart. In fact, it was almost the same distance away to Dalnbiel as it was to Büren. The difference being that Büren lies on a goddamn hill across the river. This is the view from the bridge across the Aa. It honestly feels surreal that there used to be a station there. The village is really cute, and there is bus service that connected to Oberdorf and Stans after the trains didn't stop anymore. And goddamn, the view is insane. Imagine that you would have to walk that way in a small town to get to your station. Lovely. The station, like the upcoming one, was removed from service in 2002, before the Centralbahn was even created. But if you believe that this was absurd, strap in, it gets even more ridiculous. Oh, and I should correct myself. To these two stations I did not find any material online. Seriously, I haven't been able to find anything written about them except that they obviously existed, which I first noticed on Wikipedia, then on the GeoAdmin when you select a different time period. Dörfli was a bit easier as this one, like I mentioned earlier, is still in some of the old maps included on the old trains. But other than that, no writing, no whatsoever. I find Oberdorf to be the most challenging. And it immediately strikes you when you see the area, where the station used to be. Oberdorf station was here. If you believe this little shed has anything to do with it, I can't confirm or deny it, but I highly doubt it had anything to do with it, considering Büren didn't have anything as well. It seems to have been built in 1951. I assume that this shed has something to do with electronics or other boring things, but I can't confirm. Once again, the video from 2010 saved me. Interesting to see is that at this time, the bike path wasn't even completed yet and could hardly be considered one, a far cry from today's path. What is important is that you can make out the former platform again. It's honestly shocking to see how there is basically no indication of the stop ever existing. And for good measure, here it is from the other direction. So, where does Oberdorf lie then? And this is the point where some of you might go fully insane. These houses here are not the town we are speaking of. Only a few houses and the Kaiser industry area are here. And Oberdorf? Oberdorf is all the way over here. Most of it being over a kilometer away. And if you want to walk to the stop from here, it's a 1.3 kilometer long walk. Or a 5-minute bike ride. To put it another way, seen from the banking of the river, that was the station, and there is the town. To give credit, these stations were built in the early 20th century. Nidwalden was completely cut off from the outside world to a large degree, and the only way to get to Lucerne was by boat. Speed wasn't a necessity, so stops were close together to as small a place as possible. Still, these two stations were in use up until 2002. 24 years, sure, but still recent. Because I forgot to put this into the video before, this here was the reason why it was so hard to find anything about Oberdorf, because in 2015 it was already gone. And that brings us to the end of this video. After a whole year. Jeez. I honestly didn't think that my video would basically be the only material available for these two last stations. That is something that truly astounded me. This is perhaps the most shocking aspect of these stops. They have been fully removed and there is basically no hint at all that there used to be stops here. It truly amazes me that time can have such a frankly huge effect on appearance, even in a more remote part of this country. And this has had the effect that there is no information on these two stations, other than that they existed. I haven't found any pictures, no video material of when they were still in service. I didn't speak to a single person about this topic. This has all been my very own work. To my knowledge, this video is the only material on Büren and Oberdorf station, which is insane. What I personally wonder is, how many people have them in their memories? How many saw these stations as normal? It's truly baffling. And as such, I will take the time to translate this video into German. But who knows how long that will take. Thank you for watching this video. It's hysterical how long it took, but my motivation has basically been in the gutter the past few months. And as such, I want to thank you for watching this and for supporting my work. And we will see us in the next video. Jesus Christ almighty. I think I've never pushed myself that hard before.